In this lesson we will talk about tints, or we call them pastel colors in interior design. In the previous lesson we talked about hues, and we said that hues are some kind of middle colors. And here interferes another term that we call saturation for a color. Hues are 100% saturated colors. And looking at the color wheel, we can say that all these colors are saturated too. We also talked about that we can use almost any color in our interior, but there are colors that are most suitable for interior design. And this choice is made by the clients. Let's say at least 90% choose the safe color palettes. I almost don't have projects that use this type of colors. Yes, they look great on images and internet, but when it comes to real interior projects, people stick with the safe color palettes. And as we are talking about tints, or we call them also pastel colors, people stick to these pastel colors or safe colors. And even if I do prefer contrast in my images, clients keep saying me that it is too much. They keep searching for a calm atmosphere in their homes, and sometimes it even gets too much in the opposite direction. The project images or the renders become too washed or too pastel. And no matter how hard I try to convince them that these two pastel images are not so interesting, they still stick to these two safe colors. And in some way, they are right. Instead of using dark interiors, it's a more safe option to use light interiors. Home is the place where we relax. And the safe color palettes are also linked to nature elements such as stone, wood, and different other materials. And that's why pastel colors are a popular choice for interior design, as they bring a soft and soothing and fresh look to a space. Usually these colors are light. And that's why we usually stick to tints, to light colors or safe colors. And one thing I would like to mention, don't get me wrong, I'm not against dark interiors, but the dark interiors are usually not the best option for home interior design. In conclusion, I could say that you'll have to listen to the client's choice and client's preferences, and usually they stick to these pastel colors. We will talk more about these color palettes in the next lessons, but now I would like to get to Max and show you how we can obtain tints. Before we start our talk, first of all we have to mention that black and white are not colors. I don't want to get too deep into this now, but we can say that tints, tones and shades are created using black and white. And first of all, we have to understand how we can obtain them technically. Colors, like music and other sciences, are mathematics. Yes, they are arts, but they all obey strict rules. We will talk about 60, 30 and 10% rule. People do present this rule in different ways, but I will show you how we were taught at university to apply this rule in our works, and then how to apply it in our interior. I know that all this sounds too plain. We all like to consider art like something free from rules, but like Picasso said, learn the rules like a pro so you can break them like an artist. We will have to stick to the rules and numbers. Okay, let's get to Max and let's see how we can create our tints. We said that hues are the middle colors that have 100% saturation. When we talk about tints, and not only, when we talk also about tones and shades, they do also lower saturation to obtain the tint, tone or shade that we need. We talked about the fact that we can use a few methods to obtain color in 3ds Max and not only. And as you can see here, we also use white and black, middle gray being actually a mixture of white and black. And we start every material in 3ds Max and Vray with a middle gray. And before we get to tints, I would like to talk about value and saturation. Saturation refers to the intensity or purity of a color, with a high saturation representing vibrant and intense color, and a low saturation indicating more muted or desaturated colors. We said that too intense or too pure colors are not interesting for interior design. They are cool for advertising, but not for interior design. So in other words, we can say that saturation is like a starting point. We keep adding white to this level, and by this we desaturate our color and obtain our tints. When we desaturate our colors, we are getting away from that too intense color and obtain that safe palettes that we are looking actually for. We almost do not use pure intense colors for our interiors. And the third factor that we call value, it's actually the adding of black and white color, or in other words, we can say that it usually refers to the brightness or darkness of a color. Hue is the dominant color. Saturation, it's the level of saturation or level of intensity of the color. And the last, the value, also known as luminance or lightness, represents the relative amount of lightness or darkness in the color. Making the colors too bright or too dark can significantly impact the overall aesthetic and realism. In Photoshop, we have a histogram. It is called levels. It shows the amount of light tones, mid-tones, and shades or dark tones. And the most cool and professional renders usually stick to the middle. We will talk about this in the next lessons. So let's get back to tints. You can see here written whiteness. If we consider a tone being a middle gray, so from a tone to white, we can consider this being the range of the tints. In other words, we can say that this is the level of white that we are adding to our hue. RGB code divides into 256 levels. Here interferes our numbers or mathematics that we cannot skip. So 128 being the middle and up to 255, 0 being black, we can say that this is the range of the tints that we are using for our interior projects. How do we apply all this in interiors? We will talk in the next lessons. Despite the art, we will have to stick to numbers and mathematics, as I said. We will analyze different techniques and schemes and different palettes, how they are created, and we will get step by step to how we can apply them in our interior projects. In the next lesson, we will talk about tones.